Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome to the final episode in my mini-series within a series with Trivial Theater. There are still a couple more Peter and the Wolf episodes coming, but this is my last one with Nikki. In the past two episodes, we looked at famous cartoon takes on Peter and the Wolf, Muppet Babies and Tiny Toons, and today's episode follows suit, but with famous puppets instead of famous cartoon characters. Today we're talking about a direct-to-video Sesame Street special, which was marketed as Elmo's Musical Adventure. But if you actually watch it, on the title card of the special itself, it's Peter and the Wolf. And technically, Elmo wasn't even the star of it. It was Baby Bear. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just get into the episode. Moving on to Sesame Street, this is the one where if you want an actual good introduction to Peter and the Wolf for little kids, this is perfect.
Oh, it's very good.
This is what I wanted all the other things to be.
So you're saying you saved the best for last?
Yeah, and I mean, I think I probably, as like a piece of entertainment, I probably was a little bit more entertained by Tiny Toons as far as like it being hilarious. But I enjoyed this one more as an adaptation of Peter and the Wolf because they did everything that they needed to.
Right. Well, and this is, because it's Sesame Street, I think there is a different level of expectation. If they didn't do a decent, solid version, then you'd look at it and go, okay, you spent 40 minutes or whatever telling this tale and it wasn't semi-accurate.
Yeah, and I think, well, especially because it's Sesame Street, like there's an expectation of them to be educational. And if you want to introduce kids to classical music and be educational with it, Peter and the Wolf is the perfect thing to go with.
Agreed.
It's kind of interesting that they called this, like they sold this as Elmo's Musical Adventure, but like it does not say that anywhere in the show. It's specifically called Peter and the Wolf in the actual episode.
Well, and it might have been, was it maybe like a series that they did? Like they did Elmo's Musical Adventure, but it was, maybe this, and then they went on to do other musicals?
I don't think so. They were, from what I can tell, looking at the Muppet Wiki, they were making Peter and the Wolf. Like that was the whole point of this. I don't think it was part of another series.
Oh, okay.
I think they were just kind of using Elmo's star power to sell the tape, probably.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I mean, then and now, I mean, Elmo is one of those driving forces. I mean, for whatever you've got, for whatever Big Bird or Zoe or any of the others or Grover, whoever bring to the table, I mean, Elmo is kind of the star of the show.
Yeah, these days he kind of is. When I was younger, like really young, I didn't care. And then I got older, and then I think it was one of those things where you like hear people talking negatively about something, and then at that point I was like, there's too much Elmo. I don't like Elmo. So I was kind of like anti-Elmo. But now, looking back, Elmo can be hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think it's oversaturation. It's like you could have a really good song on the radio, and even though the song didn't do anything wrong, it's played so much. Yeah. And it just gets, it kind of kills it. Like even when I was a kid, like, you had Tickle Me Elmo and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Elmo, he was everywhere when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. And still is, to some extent, I guess.
Yeah, he's kind of the star. They've kind of added in that Abby Cadabby fairy. So they're kind of like, both of them are the stars of the show now, I guess. I haven't really watched Sesame Street recently, so.
No, I haven't either.
I
was always my favorite.
I see clips that go viral. That's about recently people have been digging up old clips of Elmo and Zoe. Like, have you seen with The Rock?
Oh my God, that was hilarious. Angry Elmo. It's just, I can't imagine being the puppeteer and like they're like, okay, we want you to be a little bit miffed. It's like, how would you even draw the line as far as finding a good balance of, okay, Elmo still has to be Elmo, but he has to be slightly upset at this.
There was a couple clips where he seemed a little more than slightly upset.
Oh, I know,
he was like really ticked off about this rock. This rock is not real. Do not make me pretend that this rock is alive.
Don't give me rock cookies. It's a rock. It's a rock. It's not a person. Rocks Donald Cuckles.
Wait, Elmo. Rocco says that he wants the oatmeal raisin cookie. Rocco? Rocco's a rock, Zoe. Rocco won't know the difference. Yes, he will. You can't have that cookie, Elmo. Rocco wants to eat it. How? How is Rocco going to eat that cookie, Zoe? Tell Elmo. Rocco doesn't even have a mouth. Rocco's just a rock.
I will say when when this whole thing started and they brought out Baby Bear, that whole character, there had to have been better choices than Baby Bear. That whole character, the voice, the whole way that he lays down, he looks like a middle-aged accountant. I know that's a moot point as far as it has no bearing on the episode as a whole, but I was just sitting there like, oh my god, all I can see, like the tie, the collar, all I can see is middle-aged accountant. What is this character? Why does he get to go to the Boston Pops people? That's just not fair. Like, let the other guys go.
He has a rich dad, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I mean, his dad has a fancy hat, and if that's not an indicator of being affluent, I don't know what does.
Plus, his dad apparently is like best friends with the director of the Boston Pops, so
that would have been an interesting story as far as the background. Like, how did these two meet? How did they become friends? Did they go to college
It's one
together?
of those things. It's like there was like so many times I'm thinking, I guess, specifically of like watching Arthur. Did you ever watch Arthur as a kid?
A little bit, yeah.
So anytime that they would have like a celebrity guest, they would have it like somehow be related to one of the characters.
It happens.
Like that seemed to happen in a bunch of old shows. Like Arthur is the one that comes to mind the most. Just they want a celebrity, so like, oh, this is my uncle, my third grade uncle on my mom's side.
Twice removed, of course.
I did like with Baby Bear how he seems to know nothing, but yet he seems too smart for what he should be. Like when they're at the symphony and like the story keeps getting interrupted because he's like freaking out and getting excited, and then everybody around him is shushing him. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know the protocol.
He knows the stuff, but he just gets excited. He gets to see the Boston Pops Orchestra. I mean, yeah. How could you not get excited and forget things? There are times when I'm watching the Boston Pops Orchestra that I forget to breathe. So.
So the thing that I liked most about this one, I guess, is like I've talked about with other things, and like in a lot of different versions of different things, is seeing which character gets cast in which part.
Oh yeah.
So of course you get Elmo as Peter in this version, and I really liked that they made Big Bird be the grandpa. And they this is the grumpiest Big Bird has ever been. Like Big Bird is usually like a ray of sunshine, so sweet and innocent. And this is like he's chewing Elmo out for being disobedient.
Oh, absolutely. Well, someone's got to keep Elmo in line, and it's good to know that at the end of the day, Big Bird fills that role where needed.
And then you also had Zoe as the bird, and the duck was Telly, and I loved Oscar as the cat.
That was good, but Telly as the duck, just that whole part was so cute.
Yes, and through the whole thing, I was waiting because if you've seen any other version, you know the duck gets eaten. And I was like, how is Sesame Street going to handle one of their characters getting devoured by a wolf?
They handled it with, Sesame Street rarely does things in a way that isn't like really well done. Like it's well thought out and it makes sense. And this is just, there's no misstep there. It's cute. It's
and
funny.
funny.
Yeah, and it's funny for more than just little kids. Like little kids gonna laugh at that and go hee 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 Telly took off his bill. He. But then adults can look at it and go, well, that's, kind of smirk at it and kind of say, oh, that's pretty cute.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's Sesame Street. You're not going to have a character straight up die. But I love that they have the narrator say that he gets eaten. And then Telly's like, nobody told me about this. I'm out of here. Rips off his beak and stomps out.
But no matter how hard the duck tried to run, he couldn't escape the wolf.
What's happening?
He was getting nearer and nearer, catching up to him.
Is he all right?
And then he ate him.
What? Whoa. Stop everything. He eats me? Nobody told me that the duck gets eaten in this story. Well, you can forget it. Well, I quit.
Huh? Where's he going?
That's it? You mean he's gonna leave us with the wolf while he's still hungry?
And I love that he came back later as a hunter. It's like, I don't want to leave completely, so I'm just going to come back as a different character.
And the fact that the hunter was the two-headed, and
I love the two-headed monster. I loved them as a kid. I was glad to see them have a role. I hadn't seen them in anything in ages. I thought they made a great hunter.
Oh yeah, and
it's a pair of hunters.
Oh yeah, well, and that's one thing too. Across the board, and obviously it's more than just an average episode of Sesame Street, but there's so much that goes into it. Whether you're talking about like the backgrounds are so intricate. There's so much interaction. There's so many puppets. There's so many Muppets. It's, and characters that don't say a thing. They're just there to add to it. There's little butterflies that are flying around. It's a really well thought out and well planned thing. It feels lived in as far as Muppets go.
Yeah, especially in the beginning and end scene where they're like at the village and there's like all the Muppets all around.
Yep.
It felt like a Muppet movie, like Muppets Christmas Carol or something, where like going through the village, it was like that level of puppets everywhere.
Absolutely. And the way that they integrated the different musicians, I thought was just, like the poor guy with the drums behind the tree.
I love that they had the musicians follow them around and like they're actually part of the story.
Yeah, and then they kind of break the fourth wall and say, "Where have you guys been?"
Yeah, I like any time that all three of these I think broke the fourth wall, but I liked any time that they broke the fourth wall. Yeah,
and it's cute, and it's you can appreciate it as a little kid, but you can also appreciate it as an adult or just kind of watching it. I mean, I can't say that I would pick up this and watch it offhandedly, but it was entertaining and it had some very cute bits. It was informational. You can appreciate what it is regardless of age.
Yeah. I mean, I love Muppets, whether they're the Muppets or the Sesame Street Muppets. They're usually very entertaining.
Very much.
I also liked going back to Baby Bear. He was kind of annoying at times, especially when he kept interrupting, but he had some lines that really cracked me up. I don't know why. Like when his dad is talking about bringing him to like meet the orchestra, and he's like, "I don't know that I'm emotionally prepared for this."
That was so cute.
And then later on, when the conductor is introducing him to all the characters, and he's like, or the instruments, and they're trying to teach him like about imagining the story in her head, and they have the lady playing the violin, and he's like, "Now what picture do you see in your imagination?" "Well, I see this lady playing the violin."
Oh man, yeah, those are very good. It was also cute when the musicians are following the various characters around, and they kind of react the same way that the characters are reacting. Like there's one where they have kind of a moment of panic, and all of a sudden all the musicians in the background are kind of running around doing the same thing.
And I also liked that the wolf This is very random. The wolf was the big bad wolf puppet. Like if you've seen Sesame Street, you know there's the big bad wolf shows up from time to time. It's a big purple wolf puppet. And it was weird because I've been doing a bunch of Peter and the Wolf versions recently, and I was telling Sarah the last time that we recorded one that the big bad wolf, I don't remember if this is in an episode or not, maybe it was after, but we were talking about the big bad wolf, and I was telling her that there was a big bad wolf Sesame Street character, and because we were talking about different wolf puppets and how well they were made. As like, wolves aren't usually represented very nicely in media.
No, not in that respect, at least.
And so we randomly were talking about the Sesame Street Big Bad Wolf. And this is before I had discovered the Sesame Street version, Peter and the Wolf. So I thought it was kind of funny and ironic that we had just been talking about the Big Bad Wolf puppet, and he shows up as a character in a Peter and the Wolf version from Sesame Street.
That is cute. And it always seems like it goes that way. Like you talk about something and then it shows up that way.
Yeah. He was a little different in this version though, because normally he talks, and he was a lot closer to like an animalistic wolf. Like he was on all fours at points, and he's not usually like that. He's usually more like an anthropomorphic character.
Well, I suppose it was a good way to kind of keep separation between the characters that could talk and the characters that couldn't. It kind of...
It could have gotten too silly if he talked, because there was a different version that we watched with puppets, and the wolf talked, and it was kind of ridiculous. You couldn't really take the story that seriously. Not that you could take this one that seriously, but it's a lot less serious when the wolf is talking and trying to weasel his way into and out of situations.
Oh, exactly.
And like I said, I really liked Oscar as the cat, and I loved how at the end when Grandpa Big Bird is chewing out Elmo for doing this dangerous thing, the cat's all excited of like everybody's been too nice. I'm ready for somebody to be grumpy. And then he's upset when he apologizes and they make up.
And the whole like you were talking, like when Big Bird at the end too is saying, well, Peter, you did wrong by doing this. It's like, Peter just saved the day. You can't fault him for saving everything and basically making the wolf not a bad guy anymore and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's true to most versions of the story anyways, because you usually have the grandpa upset that Peter went out and went after the wolf on his own, but he's still proud of him for actually somehow capturing this wolf, even though he's a small child.
Brains over bronze, right?
Yeah.
And the eyebrows on the bad wolf puppet are hilarious.
Yeah, that's kind of the character's defining feature on Sesame Street. Giant caterpillar eyebrows.
You know what? I wouldn't expect anything less. He's kind of like Bert. He needs to maybe go visit the salon and have them pluck them down a little bit.
He wouldn't be as iconic without his giant bushy brows.
That is true. It is totally adorable. It's just it's such a cute version, and like you said, it is the most true to it. You get the music, you get to see the instruments in action, both in like a theatricals or the Sesame Street setting and in an actual orchestra setting. It's got a lot of good to it.
Yeah, this is definitely one that it's a very good introduction to not just Peter and the Wolf, but like classical music and orchestras in general. Mm-hmm. If you want your kid to be exposed to something a little bit more cultural, this is a good stepping stone into that arena.
Agreed. And
it was interesting too. They actually, all the scenes with the Boston Pops Orchestra, they actually went on location. That whole thing was an actual symphony hall.
Wow.
Where they were playing. I think they recreated the sets where like they're sitting in the seats, like from when the camera is pointed at the audience, like watching everybody. I think that was a recreated set. but like when they're looking down over the audience, like that whole thing was all shot on location.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, because to try and do what they do with the puppets, you do need a rather large amount of space you probably wouldn't normally get with that.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that I would have noticed one, but I didn't realize that the audience, when they're getting into their seats at the beginning, most of the people around them are all Muppet performers.
Oh, cool.
And I definitely would have noticed Carol Spinney, because he was, everybody knows Carol Spinney. Mm-hmm. So he was in the back, but most of the people around them were some of the other, I guess, lesser known, not as famous as Carol Spinney, Muppet performers.
The one that handles the Big Bad Wolf or something like that, right? That's a cool piece of trivia. Very cool. So where does this one rank for you as far as amongst all the other ones that you've reviewed?
Maybe third. It depends on... There's one that I watched that I haven't decided exactly how I feel about it yet. Like, it is bizarre. Like, it did Peter and the Wolf and then went off on a whole different direction, and the puppets were weird, but it was, like, bizarrely entertaining. So, even though I was confused for at least half of it, I did like it. And it might be my second favorite version. But then there was another one with Art Carney.
Oh my God. Did he do as good of a job as he did in the Star Wars holiday special?
Yeah. I mean, it was really cheesy, but it was entertaining. So I don't know if that one should be up in my top ranking or not. I mean, it's not like there's a ton of versions of Peter and the Wolf to choose from.
Right.
And the one that is the best is far beyond any of the others. Like, it is the absolute best, and no other version could ever top it. It's like a really amazing stop motion short film.
Oh,
like,
nice.
I think you would like it. You should watch it sometime if you can find it.
Yeah.
That one is my favorite. And then the others are like really far down below that. But the Sesame Street one is near the top of the second tier versions that I've seen.
I get you. Well, and you can see the work that went into it. You can tell that there's love towards all parts of it.
Yes. Plus, I mean, it's Muppets, so
yeah,
I love Muppets.
You have good taste.
Well, yeah, I think that's about all for these.
Yeah.
I'm glad we could do these because I was about to wrap up my Peter and the Wolf series, and then I don't know how I missed these because when I was looking for different versions, I did not see these in any list, and suddenly I noticed these in like a line on Wikipedia, and I was like, oh no, I can't not do Muppets, Sesame Street, and Tiny Toons. I cannot not do them. So I had to get you on board too, because I mean, gotta have you involved somehow because you hadn't done any Peter and the Wolf yet.
Well, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Like I say, I kind of feel bad because I know the music. Like it's one of those things where you hear it and you just know it, but you don't necessarily know where it comes from. And I mean, it was informational for me. Like there was a lot that I had never, or if you did, you'd learned it as a kid and you kind of forgot about some of it. So it was a cool little walk down memory lane with some of the things I grew up with.
Yeah. I hadn't seen Tiny Toons in a long time, even though like I bought the DVDs years ago, but I hadn't watched them in ages. So it was nice to see them again.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, anything like that is going to be a time and place thing. If you don't have a reason to watch them, and they're not necessarily something you're going to sit down and just watch. Yeah.
None of these really were. So it's nice that these series kind of give me an excuse to watch some things that I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Oh, yeah. Plus, I mean, how often do you get to watch someone, play a bassoon?
Not very often, although I have seen it semi-often in the last couple of months, watching the various versions of Peter and the Wolf.
There you go. You have been fulfilled then. I'm just kind of watching back over stuff as we go along here, and man, they knew how to tie knots in that poor wolf. It wasn't going anywhere.
Oh yeah, I loved the scene when everybody like jumps on the wolf. Like, just throw the puppets at him.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, yeah, 3. Walk at It's okay, I won't let him hurt you, but no more of that stuff, okay? Yeah, he's a good boy, yeah, okay.
Well, that is the way to ultimately, tackle a wolf. Y'all just kind of pig pile.
I mean, wouldn't trust myself any other way. If there's a lot of people, you gotta all go at once.
If you don't body that wolf, he's gonna try and do it again, even if you catch him.
Yeah, you'll end up like the duck.
You mean dripping off your own bill?
The duck in other versions where he is swallowed whole and never heard from again.
Oh, I thought he just disappeared. You're telling me he was eaten? Oh no! Oh no! Poor duck. Poor Fozzie.
Yeah, a lot of versions try to soften that and have the duck miraculously survive somehow. And that's not how it went in the original story.
No, but you look at a lot of that stuff. I mean, whether you're talking like Hans Christian Andersen, like the original Hans Christian Andersen stories, Aesop's fairy tales, all of those things were a lot more harsh back in the day, and they've been kind of mellowed down through the ages.
Yeah, we were talking about that when in the first one that we recorded, where we were like, you can tell that this one wasn't like an Aesop's fable or Grimm's Brothers because Peter didn't die. Only the duck did. Exactly. If the Grimm's Brothers had written this, the wolf would have eaten Peter, and the moral would have been, listen to your grandfather, you'll be devoured by a wolf.
Generally speaking, that is incredibly good life advice that not enough people listen to. And as you go forward, make sure to pay attention to that, people.
Yes. Always listen to your grandfather or you'll be devoured by wild beasts.
Yes.
Well, I guess that'll be it for this episode.
Excellent. As always, an absolute pleasure.
You want to let people know where they can find you if they want more content from you?
Absolutely. If you also don't want to be devoured by a wolf, unfortunately, or just disappear randomly, halfway through a movie, you can find me here on YouTube at Trivial Theater. Just type that in and you'll find me. You can also find me on Twitter at trivia_chick. Okay.
And I will have those linked below. Well, until next time.
It has been an absolute pleasure as always, and may your French horns always give you a warning that a wolf is on the way.
A very good well wish to leave with.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Every Version Ever. If you like what you've heard, make sure to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform or to the Every Version Ever YouTube channel. Make sure to follow my co-hosts as well. Any relevant links will be in the description for easy access. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.